The following program is brought to you by TZ Productions, offering 40 years of media experience.
The Alvin and Rosalie Sarachek Trust, supporting arts, history, science, and this program on KPTS.
This is where the stars come to shine, and this week we welcome a pop music sensation whose iconic songs never grow old. His name, Frankie Valens. His biggest hits are known to all generations. He'll sing two of those hits today. Also, we'll find out how this popular music star ended up in Kansas, and we'll discover why he is singing a different tune these days and taking his directions from a higher power. It's a half hour of conversation and song as we welcome the great Frankie Valens one-on-one. Hello, I'm Victor Hogstrom. It's a pleasure to welcome a familiar voice to the table. Frankie Valens, it's so good to have you.
Thank you, Victor. It's good to be here.
So we want to know, I'm curious, Frankie. Your name was Frankie Piper.
Yes.
And it became Valens.
Valens.
When you became a singer, a professional performer.
That's right.
How did that all happen?
Well, when my agent discovered me in a nightclub, he said, you sing like Frankie Valli, but your heart is choosing songs like Richie Valens. So I said, let's just change your name. Girls are going to be chasing you. And he said, you're going to want to change your name so nobody will know where you live. So he said, let's just try Frankie Valens. And so that stuck. And so I started with several groups back then. I actually auditioned with a song called Unchained Melody. And that's all stemmed from there.
And I know you will be performing one or two songs for us, but we'll get to those later.
Exactly. Yeah.
You wanted to become an accountant.
That's why I was going to college, to be an accountant. But you know, being an accountant, most accounting jobs are very boring. And so you're sitting there at a desk and you don't talk to anybody, you just do your little numbers. And I thought, I need more than this. And that's why I took a part-time job. I didn't need the money, I just wanted to do something to be with people. So I started in part-time, like 3 hours a night at a sporting goods department store. That's when a gentleman came in. He was the manager of his son's band. And he heard me humming to the music. He said, Frankie, it sounds like you got a pretty good voice. He said, why don't you come out and try out for my son's band? They're looking for a lead singer. I said, why not? I've enjoyed music all my life. And so I went out and I heard the band playing, and that house that I went into is still there today. I went down the basement and the band was playing. Only a three-piece band back then. Mm-hmm. But they had me sing a song, and I said, it's something that maybe I don't normally sing. So they gave me a 45 RPM record, and they said, take this home and learn this song and come back next week and try out. The song was Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers. I thought, I'm a rock singer, not a ballad singer. This is a rock band. But I came back the next Saturday and I auditioned with that song. The manager kept pacing the floor and he kept looking at me. And after I got done, you know, I just wanted to sing it from my heart. He was pacing, he said, he looked right at his son, at the drummer, and he said, I think we've got our lead singer. And the drummer couldn't say a word. He said, he just shook his head. He said, yeah. Would you consider that the big break? That was the big break. Well, for the first band.
Right, right.
But actually, the band I became popular with was not that band. I left that band to become a big pop singer. And that very first band, I never knew what happened to that band until about 40 years later. I happened to be on Facebook and saw this guy, his name was Bob Brown. I said, oh, I wonder if he's the same one that was in my band. So I contacted him on Facebook, and he was that lead guitarist. So, you know, Sierra Scott was trying to get me to do a band reunion. And I thought, oh, that'd be a great idea. It'd be in New Jersey. She'd fly out all these cameramen and everything. And the next thing I know, my drummer dies from the original band. And I just lost interest. I really actually lost interest in having a band reunion.
But you did get into another band.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the one that made you very popular.
Right. And actually the band was only a backup band. There for a while I had backup bands like Ivy Museum, Fragile Glass, all these bands behind me, but they wanted me to be out front like you would any other singer. So that's how my name got out there.
But there's a story regarding that band, and you left that band to go solo.
Solo, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. That's the Eminent Domain band. I left that band to go solo. I had backup bands.
Take it from there.
All right. Well, my agent was getting to the point where he wanted me to travel, and I had a full-time job and part-time job, and I thought, how am I going to do this? Have 2 jobs and travel and go to school and earn my degree in accounting. Well, they fixed it so that I would travel on the weekend with the band to Canada and around, and I remember Canada. I made my debut up there, and I fell right on my behind when I first came out with my brand new shoes.
Oh, boy.
I later found out the club owner thought they had hired a comedian. And then Miss Canada was there in Prince Albert at the nightclub I was at, and she told everybody, she said, I want Frankie's autograph. That performance, I fell off the stage. The spotlights couldn't find me. They said, where's Frankie? Finally, they said, oh, there he is. Later, I went out to see if she wanted my autograph. She didn't say a word about an autograph. I think I blew it with her.
Okay,
Oh,
so
goodness.
you are going to perform a first song for us.
Yes.
Set it up. What are you singing?
Well, the song that my agent chose, he said, now the Drifters was the first band to record this as a hit. He said, a lot of groups have done this. He said, a lot of people re-record songs, it becomes their hit. And sure enough, my hit became This Magic Moment.
This magic moment.
Right.
I know that song. Well, let's enjoy it, okay?
All right, thank you.
Let's take a break and watch and listen to you and watch you sing.
Thank you very much, Victor.
This magic moment, so different and so new, unlike any other, until I kissed you, and then it happened. It took me by surprise. I knew that you felt it too, by the look in your eyes. Sweeter than wine, softer than a summer night. Everything I want to have whenever I hold you tight. This magic moment, when your lips are close to mine, will last forever, forever till the end of time. Whoa, whoa. This was recorded back in 1968. This magic moment, sweeter than wine, softer than a summer night. Everything I want to have whenever I hold you tight. This magic moment, when your lips are close to mine, will back in 1968.
And we're back. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
It brings back memories for so many people who just listen to that song.
It does me every time I sing it.
And how did your family feel about you becoming a rock and roll singer?
Oh my goodness, do we need to go there? My father was a pastor. He never wanted me to become a pop singer. In fact, he never came to any of my concerts, but he would tell people, I'm proud of my son, but I can't go and consciously support him when he's a pop singer. But as soon as we appeared in Denver at a church, when I became a gospel singer, he sat there towards the back, and there were people sitting down in front of me, and I sang a song, I forgot which one it was, but he was touching the people's shoulders. He said, oh, that's my son singing. So I know he was proud of me. But and he came to my gospel concerts, but he wouldn't go to my oldies concerts at all.
So what would you describe as the highlight of your pop music career?
That would probably sing in front of 35,000 people in Salt Lake City. I had just come from being showcased in Las Vegas. I thought that was my biggest time. At the Sahara, and my agency, they had 3 groups on. We were just one of the 3 that they were showcasing. And of course, I was the last one because they wanted my band to be the big thing. And sure enough,
grand finale.
Grand finale, yes, you got it. And we left there and went towards Denver, and we went through Utah, and I sung in front of 35,000 people. And they were actually at the Delta Center, only hosts 25,000. So they had a satellite going to the 10,000 over at the Salt Palace. So that's, I actually went to Fort Collins, and that's when I ended up there, I actually quit the band. Someone had thrown an apple at me at Las Vegas. They said, Frankie, I know you haven't eaten all day. And we'd been practicing for that showcasing at the Sahara. And I thought, oh, they threw an apple at me, and I looked at that apple and I said, you know, God made that apple so perfect and so complete. And here I am glorifying myself instead of God who created me. Mm-hmm. And that's when we ended up in Fort Collins, I chose to quit the band.
So you began having second thoughts about your career.
I did, yes. You know, I had girls chasing me.
Which probably made your father happy.
Yeah, it did. Oh, it made him glad, yes. He was finally saying, well, my son is finally coming around. But I did travel through Fort Collins, and that's when I totally quit. Now, I can tell you right now, as God is my witness, I've never in my entire life ever taken drugs. I've never in my entire life ever smoked a cigarette. I think if I'd done those things, I wouldn't have the voice I got today.
Right.
And I understand I've got a contra-tenor voice, which is kind of rare, where I can go all the way from a natural voice to a natural falsetto. Mm-hmm. And that's God-given. And
so when you changed your career, you got into gospel singing.
Gospel music, yes.
And you met your wife, Phyllis.
That's how I met my wife. I met my wife in church. I'd lost everything else. I quit the music industry, lost everything I had, and I started going to a church. And Phyllis came in as a new choir director. I thought, wow, I like this. So it was kind of love at first sight. And boy, could she tickle those ivories. But I asked her to sing with me one time, and she said, you want me to sing with you? And I knew she knew how to harmonize, and I love to harmonize. I'd rather sing harmony than lead. So we sang a song, and we were dating for 2 years, and finally asked her to marry me.
And she married you, but not knowing
who I was,
who
yes.
you really were.
Oh, that was a big thing. Yes, you see.
She married Frankie Piper.
Yes, she did.
Not Frankie Valens.
That's right.
Tell us that story.
Well, it has something to do with an album.
Okay.
I have a long playing album called Showstopper. And I don't know how we were playing it, but I was playing it one time, and she said, that's you singing? I said, yeah. And she looked at it and said, Frankie Valens. She said, well, that's not you. I said, yes, it is. I said, oh, do I have a story to tell you?
But why didn't you tell her the story before?
Well, I was hurt by the music industry. My band started taking drugs, and they couldn't play unless they actually took drugs, and it just got to me. Mm-hmm. My agent totally did me wrong. So I just kind of turned my back on the music industry, and when I did, they turned their back on me. Mm-hmm. Took my records out of the record stores and everything. I said, I don't need this. And so when we got together and we dated, I didn't tell her a thing about who I was. And when she saw the record and Frankie Valens, she said, oh my goodness. So it took her a while to figure out who I was.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history, yes.
Now, you're going to perform again another song?
Yes.
And what is this one?
Well, this is a song that I didn't actually record way early in my career. It was later in my career, but every group has ever done this. But it's called The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
Oh,
and
I know that too.
Yes, it's a neat song, and everywhere I go, whether church or anywhere, they want me to sing that song. So it's become another sort of like a signature song for me.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, The Lion Sleep Tonight, Frankie Valens.
Near the village, a peaceful village, the lion sleeps tonight. Near the village, the quiet village, the lion sleeps tonight.
This song was actually written in 1939, and the man who wrote it went to his grave up high. The Lion Sleeps Tonight still lives on in this man's memory. Here we go.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the quiet jungle, the lion sleeps tonight.
The Lion Sleeps Tonight.
All right, and we're back with Frankie Valens. It was beautiful again.
Thank you.
You're bringing back a lot of memories.
Oh, people love to revisit those times because those times that will never end.
Do you miss one iota of those times at all?
No, not, well, I had a lot of good times, but I had more fun being a gospel singer than I ever had as a pop singer. Being showcased and everything, that was another part of my life. But now a new era has begun, and we've been in ministry now for 27 years, in our 28th year.
All right.
Been all around the United States and Canada, Mexico.
So what name are you singing under now, gospel music?
Frankie Valens.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. We took it legally, I don't know how many years ago. Now I have to clarify, I made a mistake by saying I asked her to marry me. I wanted to, but she ended up asking me to marry her. So I got to clarify that before.
As they say in the South, that's so special.
Oh, special.
Yes. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
You should be proud, and you're still together.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
31 years later.
That's a great story.
Thank you.
Within itself. So you got married, you sing together now. How did you and your wife select Kansas?
Well, we were actually in San Diego, traveling and living out there. And we had a daughter living here with our grandkids. And we actually had a concert at a church in Wichita. And when we came all the way from San Diego to Wichita, that church decided they wanted to have us as their music pastors. I'd never considered it, but Phyllis has done music pastoring and taught piano and everything, but I've been only a singer. But we decided, we prayed about it and felt the Lord was leading us that direction. So about for next year, we became music pastors of a church that had a school. We did drama and praise teams and choir and bell choirs. We did it all. Loved it. But I was missing being out on the road and meeting people and sharing my testimony and the talents that God's given me. So after a year, we went back out on the road again. So we've been on the road at least 18 years out of our 27 years of ministry.
But you maintain your base here?
In Derby, yeah.
In Derby, Kansas. Mm-hmm. Good for you.
Love our ministry.
So your wife, Phyllis, plays a very important role in your new life that you live.
Definitely. She's a concert pianist. She's taught piano. She sings with me, writes music, and she's a very big, heavy part of my life. And we sing duets together and solos and all.
If you were to look back at your life and say, I'll do this all over again, what would you still do the same things you did?
Same thing. For the next 50 more years, the same thing with Phyllis.
With Phyllis. All right. Well, you are going to perform one of your hit gospel songs.
Yes.
So in the interest of time, because we don't want time to run out, our audience wants to hear this one. Okay. So let's introduce you again. And what's the name of this one?
This is called If the Lord Wasn't Walking by My Side. It's on our new gospel album called Gonna Shout.
All right. Let's hear the selection.
Amen.
I don't know just what I'd do if the Lord wasn't walking by my side.
Well, I was drifting, and I was wondering, and Jesus found me. You heard me praying, and now I'm singing, because I'm happy, and I don't know just what I'd do if the Lord wasn't walking by my side. What would I do? What would I do? Well, I'd be lonely, discouraged, burdened all the way. If the Lord wasn't walking by my side every day, I'd be so friendless. I'd be so helpless. And I don't know just what I'd do if the Lord wasn't walking by my side. What would I do when the tears fill my eyes? What would I do when it's my turn to die?
I'd be lonely, discouraged, burdened on the way.
If the Lord wasn't walking by my side every day, I'd be so friendless. I'd be so helpless. And I don't know just what I'd do if the Lord wasn't walking by my side. If the Lord wasn't walking by my side. Amen.
And we're back, and that was Frankie Valens singing another beautiful gospel song. And again, what can I say? You still have it.
Thank you. I am 74 years old, and I'm still singing. If my voice ever goes, I'm sure I'll find something else to do. But
well, you can always continue to write novels and your autobiography, because you've written one.
That started it all.
This started Chasing an Elusive Dream.
Right.
Is this? And you've written several novels.
9 novels, and I'm on my 10th.
Tell us about this 10th one.
The 10th one is called The Stranger, and it's based on the story I think people saw in the newspaper about a Catholic church in New Mexico They couldn't get to the choir loft, and a stranger happened to come in after they prayed and prayed and prayed for help, and he built a staircase all the way up to the choir loft. No nails, no glue, and he disappears. That's what my story is based on. It's called The Stranger, and on the front cover, there's a shadow of somebody in the background, and that kind of tells you it could be an angel, it could be any number of people, but that's what the story's about. I'm thrilled about it. 33 chapters already.
Wow. So I understand all of your novels are based on true stories.
True stories, yes.
Right. But the autobiography, you have something interesting that is of...
Exactly. The last chapter is called Buried Alive. It's actually my second cousin from Florence, Kansas. He was buried alive and lived to tell about it. In fact, a man picked him up when he was hitchhiking in uniform from San Diego to LA. And a derelict picked him up and tried to kill him. Stripped him of his dog tags, his uniform, everything, and hit him over the head with a hammer, tried to shoot him, and buried him in a shallow grave. And he lived to tell about it. And because of my cousin, the law is now that nobody in uniform can ever hitchhike again in uniform because of my cousin. Right. But I've got a novel called Facing a Dark Victory. I expounded on the chapter because this is police reports and from his own daughter. But the actual novel is called Facing a Dark Victory. And I expounded on the story that his own daughter told me. So everything is based on truth, although they're a novel and I had to change the names. Okay. But it's an exciting novel to read.
I'm sure it is. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Victor.
We appreciate your time and the beautiful renditions you've presented this day. And thank you for joining us. If you have questions or comments about the program, please feel free to email us at oneonone@kpts.org. We love to hear from you. We'll see you next time. I'm Victor Hogstrom. Thanks for watching.
The Alvin and Rosalie Sarachek Trust, supporting arts, history, science, and this program on KPTS.
The preceding program was brought to you by TZ Productions, offering 40 years of media experience.